The Pope is dead. Yes, you heard that right. The leader of the Catholic Church has taken his final breath, and now, the whole world turns its gaze to Rome. The ancient gears of tradition begin to turn once more. It's time for the Conclave, that sacred, sealed ritual where red-robed cardinals are locked inside the Vatican, cut off from the outside world, until a new pope is chosen. No phones, no media, just whispers. Cardinal Dean Thomas Lawrence arrives, solemn and steady, joining the other clergy gathered around the late pope, who lies still, claimed by a heart attack. After the death is declared, Lawrence allows himself a single tear. Then, he finds comfort in the familiar face of Cardinal Aldo Bellini, his friend and fellow liberal. Together, they share quiet words about the man they both deeply admired and the heavy road ahead. 3 weeks pass. Now, within the stone walls of a private sanctuary, the College of Cardinals assembles. The conclave begins, guided by Lawrence himself. One by one, more cardinals arrive, along with the nuns assisting with preparations. The vote is near. Among the candidates, the atmosphere is tense. There's Bellini, respected and reform-minded. Cardinal Joseph Tremblay, the embodiment of old-school conservatism. Cardinal Joshua Adeyemi, popular, poised, and socially traditional. And finally, Cardinal Goffredo Tedesco, a man whose name sends chills down Lawrence's spine. Tedesco represents everything they fear: regression, rigidity, a church dragged backwards into darker days. Neither Lawrence nor Bellini wants the papacy, but even more than that, they cannot let it fall into Tedesco's hands. Cardinal Lawrence begins to dig, quietly tracing the final days of the late pope. And that's when a troubling detail surfaces. Tremblay, the hardline conservative, is revealed to have been the last person to meet with the pope before his death. Word has it, the pope was about to dismiss Tremblay over something serious. But before that could happen, the pope dies. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Even more troubling, Tremblay is now leading in the polls to become the next pope. Then comes an unexpected curveball. Archbishop Vincent Benitez of Kabul arrives unannounced. His name? Not on any list. Whispers spread among the clergy. Did he forge his credentials? But Benitez calmly explains. He was made a cardinal in Pector, in secret, by the late pope just last year. Lawrence, intrigued and respectful, introduces Benitez to the College of Cardinals. That evening, Benitez is asked to bless their meal. His presence is quiet, but commanding. Later, behind closed doors, the cardinals begin to speak freely. Bellini, holding tight to his liberal ideals, reaffirms his greatest fear, that Tedesco, with his outdated, iron-fisted ideology, must not become pope. He even meets with Tremblay, desperate to understand what may have caused the pope to turn on him. Tremblay denies everything and accuses Wozniak, the whistleblower, of being drunk when he made the claim. As the first day of the conclave begins, Lawrence stands before the college. He urges them to be prepared, not just for duty, but for doubt, uncertainty, and the challenge of choosing unity over division. He encourages them to embrace diversity, to lead with conscience, not fear. The first round of votes is cast. Adeyemi takes the lead, but a few stray votes surprise Lawrence, one for him, and a few for Bellini. Privately, Bellini agrees to support Adeyemi, despite disagreeing with him on key issues. Anything to block Tedesco. That night, something strange. Lawrence hears an argument echoing in the halls. 2 nuns. But when he checks, they vanished. Day 2. A commotion is heard from outside. Rumors of an explosion in the street. Lawrence insists they keep it quiet. No external influence must sway the sacred vote. Adeyemi maintains his lead, but it's still not enough for the 2/3 majority. Then, the silence is shattered, publicly. Sister Shinumi, a nun, confronts Adeyemi during lunch, her voice loud enough to stop forks in midair. Lawrence, disturbed, speaks to Sister Agnes, who allows him to speak with Shinumi. She confesses everything. 30 years ago, when she was just 19, she and Adeyemi conceived a child. He was 30, a priest. Bound by confession, Lawrence says nothing, publicly. But word spreads. Adeyemi's support crumbles. As pressure mounts, Bellini, once idealistic, begins to pivot. He throws his support behind Tremblay, determined to stop Tedesco at all costs. Meanwhile, O'Malley quietly tells Lawrence something peculiar. The late Pope sent Benitez to Geneva for a mysterious medical procedure. Lawrence meets Benitez privately. The truth? Benitez placed his vote for Lawrence. More shadows emerge. Sister Agnes informs Lawrence that Tremblay arranged for Shinumi's transfer to the Vatican. Was it a trap to ruin a diami? Lawrence confronts Tremblay. Tremblay admits to arranging the transfer, but claims it was done at the Pope's request, with no knowledge of Shinumi's past with the diami. Then he flips the script, accusing Lawrence of harboring ambitions for the papacy. Lawrence, outraged, denies it with fire in his voice. But behind every denial, the pressure rises. Lawrence, driven by a gnawing instinct, sneaks into the late Pope's private chambers, now sealed from the world. There, hidden among the stillness and dust, he discovers what the Pope left behind, a notebook and damning documents. Inside, proof, clear as daylight, of Tremblay's bribes. He'd paid cardinals to secure their votes, and that's why the Pope had moved to remove him. Lawrence rushes to show the evidence to Bellini. But instead of outrage, Bellini pleads with him. "Burn it," he says. That's when Lawrence realizes the bitter truth. Bellini took a bribe, too. On the third day of the conclave, Lawrence and Sister Agnes quietly make copies of the documents. Then, the truth is unleashed. The college erupts in chaos. The betrayal is out in the open. Agnes confirms Tremblay's actions. Yes, he orchestrated Sister Shinumi's arrival at the Vatican, not just as a servant of God, but as a weapon. A calculated move to destroy Adayami's chances. Later, Bellini approaches Lawrence in a quiet corridor. His voice is low, his eyes heavy. He asks for forgiveness, and receives it. But the damage is done. With the major players disgraced, the choice narrows, Tedesco or Lawrence. Then, outside the walls of the Vatican disaster, a bomber detonates, killing civilians and sending shockwaves across the globe. The conclave, already fragile, now trembles under the weight of war. Tedesco seizes the moment. He storms the floor with a fiery sermon, calling the bombing a divine sign. A holy war, he says, must begin. The church must rise in might and strike back. His voice echoes with fury, invoking God as justification for vengeance. But then, Benitez stands. He speaks, not with fury, but with compassion, with pain, with strength. Drawing from years of service in war-torn lands, Benitez denounces violence, condemns vengeance, and reminds them all that faith is not forged in fire, but in peace. His words pierce the room, carving through anger and despair like light through stained glass. And something shifts. The cardinals, tired, ashamed, broken by what they've seen, listen. And then, they choose. Not Lawrence, not Tedesco, but Vincent Benitez. The conclave elects a humble missionary, a man of peace, to lead the Catholic Church. Afterward, O'Malley pulls Lawrence aside with one final truth. He tells him about Benitez's mysterious trip to Switzerland. Lawrence meets with Benitez privately, where the new pope shares a deeply personal truth. During what was thought to be a simple surgery, doctors discovered Benitez was intersex, born with both male and female reproductive organs. The pope had known. He kept it a secret. Benitez chose not to have the surgery, choosing instead to live as God made him. Lawrence listens in silence, and then he understands. He promises to keep the secret, not out of fear, but out of faith. In Benitez, in the church, in God. Outside, white smoke rises into the Roman sky. A new pope has been chosen. And in that moment, amidst the ancient rituals and modern trials, Lawrence finds his faith renewed, not in power, but in the resilience of humility, truth, and grace.